everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's Maureen from CrochetCavalier, and today we're going to be talking about crochet hooks. Now you can see there's quite a collection of crochet hooks I've got here on my little craft table. They come in all different sizes, different materials that they've been made of. When you start crocheting, all you really need is 1 or 2 hooks in different sizes, depending on what yarn you're going to be using. But yeah, I've collected quite a few over the years and inherited some from my mum and from my auntie, and so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I've got some vintage hooks there, metal, plastic, made out of all different types of materials. So let's just have a look at what I've got here, and we'll talk about each one of those. Well, not each one of those, I'll be here all day, but just a selection of them. Okay, so these first 4 here that I've got are vintage hooks. So you can see I've got one here that's from Germany. I don't know where my mother got that one from, but she might have even brought it over from Austria with her when she moved to Australia back in 1958, Neue Reform. It's a very, very fine hook that would have been used perhaps to create maybe some lace work or lace doilies. Okay, it's seen better days, but it's just, I have it for sentimental value. I haven't actually used it for many, many years. When I was younger, in my younger years, I did learn to crochet doilies, and I also crocheted around handkerchiefs back then. That was probably back in the 70s and 80s. So this is one of the ones I did use that I got from an auntie in Austria. It's just a little Bakelite handle. Again, very, very fine hook. All right, there's not sure what this one is, 2.5 millimeter. Now hooks, the same as yarn, come in different sizes. Yarn in Australia, we use the term ply. So often you'll go to Spotlight or another craft store where they sell wool, and you'll find wool in plies, 2 ply, 4 ply, 10 ply, 12 ply. That's the term we use in Australia. In the US, they use the terms DK, which means double knit, or fingering weight. They all basically mean the same things. So there are charts that you can have a look to see the conversion of a terminology that they would use in the US as opposed to here in Australia or Europe or the UK. So that one's 2.5 millimeter hook. Again, would be used for fine work. And there's another little wooden one there. So actually that's not even a hook. I'm not sure what that is. Just a pointy needle. Forget about that one. Okay, so the first crochet hooks I used when I was younger were these ones. So they're metal hooks. They don't have a brand on them, except for this one, I think, is a very old vintage one. See if I can get that to clear. No, it's not going to. Anyway, it says Yum England. So Yum was a brand from a very long time ago. I don't know if they still make hooks or if they still exist, but my mother would have had that back in the 50s. So yeah. And then these other ones, as you can see, they come in different sizes. So that one's a 1 millimeter. We have a 3 millimeter there. Another 1 millimeter, 1.5, 2 millimeter, another 1.5. So they're made of metal, very sturdy. They're not going to break. They'll last forever. As you can see, I've had them since I was a young child, and they're still good to go. All right, but most of the crochet that I do now is with thicker yarns, so I don't actually use, maybe the 3 millimeter is probably the smallest size I would use, unless I was going to do something with a fine cotton. All right, as a child, I started to learn using these grey needles. Here in Australia, most of us know what these look like. They were the only ones you could buy years ago. Now they come in all different colours and different materials. And again, they come in all different sizes, 3 millimeter, 3.75 there. Yeah, so I think Birch was one of the brands that made these silver needles. Some of these bigger ones are in plastic, but all of the other finer ones there that I've got, there's a 4 millimeter there and a 5 millimeter, are in metal. The metal hooks. Okay, so I used those hooks for many, many years, probably 40 years of my life. I used those metal hooks until I started joining Instagram and seeing all the different crochet work from different parts of the world. and YouTube, and saw that there was actually different hooks out there that you could purchase, because this was all I had access to. Here's some bigger ones that I use for bags and rugs. That one actually there is a 15mm, so that's probably the biggest one that I have, and I think that was Birch brand. And then also these two which I also would have picked up from Lincraft or Spotlight here in Australia, 12mm and a 9mm hook. And I don't think I've even used those. I just had them on hand in case I need to make something. All right, so as I got a little bit more experienced with my crochet, probably in the last 10 to 12 years, I was using metal hooks like these ones that I picked up from Spotlight. And I've had, I think I bought this set here. Boy is a brand that we have over here, B-O-Y-E. I'm not sure if it's an Australian brand or if I think this set was says made in China inside the case. So I don't know if the hooks were made there, but the case definitely was. And so this is a set you can pick up in Spotlight. I think there's probably something very similar still there. They start from a 0.75mm and go right up to, let me see what the biggest one is here, 6.5mm. Okay, and I think there was a 3mm was missing from this set, so that's maybe why I've got that gold one. I bought that separately. And so these are the ones probably that I used from the early 90s until about 10 years ago. And they were fine. I didn't have any problem with them. I loved them. But the more I crocheted, and as I hit my 40s and 50s, I was crocheting every day. And I was starting to develop some pain in my hand and my wrist and my shoulder from doing so much crochet in the evenings, that I started to discover hooks that were a little bit more ergonomic, which I'll show you in a moment. And my husband, being a tradie, he said to me, why don't you get yourself a set of those more ergonomic hooks? He said that, in his trade, he said, I wouldn't use tools unless they were of a really good quality and they were going to last me. So he said, just view it as an investment. So that's what I did, and I bought another set of hooks. And since then, I haven't actually used these as much anymore. I do use them if I try to do a little bit of Tunisian crochet, because you need a little bit of a longer length in the hook part there. But they're still a good set, and they will last forever. Yeah, as I said, I've had them for maybe 30 years now, 20, 30 years. And they're the ones I started my daughter on when I was teaching her as well. Okay, so they're still a very good set. I think you can also buy that similar sort of set to that on, I did a little internet search the other day, and you can still buy sets like that. And even Aldi's, I saw on someone else's podcast the other day that Aldi's also has a really nice set for about $6 or $7 with all the different hooks in it. So then I progressed to these ones, Clover, and these are the Clover Amour. I think Clover has different styles of hooks, but Clover Amour are these ones. They come in 10 different colours there, as well as being pretty. They are very ergonomical. So the ones that I use the most are probably the 3.75, 4, 4.5 and a 5mm hook. This one does not come in a 3mm hook. No, 3.25 and 2.75. So there's no 3mm hook in this set of Clover. I also have another set which is the finer hooks in the Clover, which I've recently just purchased as well. This set I purchased online maybe about 12 years ago, and it came with this case. I don't think you can get this case anymore. I did a little search last week, and I did see one set available in the US online if you search for it with the case. But you can get other crochet hook cases that you can store your hooks in, so I guess you don't really need it. The only benefit I liked about this set was that it actually came with 10 hooks. And I think if you buy the set without the case, there's only 9 hooks. I'm not sure which one is missing though. But yeah, what I like about this hook, I think I explained in my last video, if you have a look at that, is that it has a nice flat section here where you can hold your thumb, wrap your fingers around, and when you're crocheting, it's just very comfortable and I don't have to do a lot of movement. Whereas with these, I found with these ones, they're a little bit more slippery, and yeah, I was getting wrist pain. I don't know why, but that was only after crocheting for many, many years. The same with these really big hooks. I find working with really thick yarn, if I'm making a rug, I've made a few floor rugs and bags over the years, that I start to get shoulder and neck pain. So that's why with the clover, I did actually buy some bigger hooks, and they come separate to the kit. Here on the Sunshine Coast, you can purchase them from Crochet Australia. I think that's where I got these ones from. But you can probably get them online. I think also Spotlight sells some of the clover hooks. I have seen them there in the past, but I'm not sure now. And then I did purchase this one, which I don't know what the brand is. But can you see how that's got a letter on it? The letter N and then 10mm. So in Australia and in the UK, I think we use the metric system. So your hooks will be a millimetre size. In the US, they use an alphabet system, which I don't know how they know what size the hook is then. But I guess when you read a pattern, it may have, use an N hook or a J hook. I think that's what it does. But some of the sets, I'll show you in a moment, they do actually have, the N and the 10mm on there. I can see that's actually a boy, B-O-Y-E. So I might have picked that up at Spotlight as well, that one. All right, but yes, they're the ones that I use mostly now. They are a little bit more expensive than using the metal sets or the grey ones. If you're starting off crochet, those ones are just fine. I wouldn't say to somebody go and invest in, some really expensive hooks. That's personal choice, of course, but it's something that I'm doing every single day. So for me, it was an investment. It was worth it to save up and get those hooks. And then I've got these wooden ones. I think they just came in a kit. I don't know what that one is, but I just thought it was pretty. Oh, actually, that's a double-ended hook. Look at that. 6mm on one side and 6.5 on the other side. I haven't actually used it. I think it came either in a kit of something that I purchased at a market, or I just saw it and liked the colours on it, or maybe somebody bought it for me. I don't really remember. But anyway, it is a pretty hook. And then these wooden ones, I think, also came in some sort of kit that I'd had in the past. There's 8mm, 10 and 12mm. I will talk a little bit about, I'm not sure of all the correct terminology of, the hook shape or anything like that, but I do find these wooden ones, and I've got another wooden set, are quite sharp on the edge here. And sometimes, depending on what type of yarn you're using, it can snag. So I don't like that. Whereas with the clover hooks, this metal part, whatever that's made out of, is very, very smooth, and I really love crocheting with it. Any yarn, cotton, even mohair I've crocheted with will just slide off, and it doesn't snag anywhere. It doesn't split the wool, and so for me that's a plus. Okay, and then the other two that I've got here are just sort of like a novelty one. I think they were made out of some sort of polymer clay. I don't remember where I got them from. I think somebody might have sent them to me. There's a little 5 stamped on it, so I'm guessing that's 5mm. And this one is a 4mm. Yeah, I think somebody sent them to me as a gift. I'll have to look back and through my Instagram and see who it was. I have used them as well. They're quite comfortable to use. All right, and then lastly, the other hooks that I've got, which are beautiful, but I mainly use them for decorative purposes now, is these beautiful timber carved ones. So my son actually gave me these as a gift for our anniversary. I think it was our 25th anniversary a few years back, and he gave me this beautiful set here. It's got a K stamped on it, if you can see that. K, oops. K, and then the size 6.5mm. MSCC Crochet. So I'm not sure who actually made them. I'd have to ask him actually where he purchased them from. But they're beautiful, and I think there's 12 different sizes. What, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 different hooks in different sizes, from a really fine one. I think this is the finest one I've got, which is a 3.5 is the finest, and then the thickest one, let me just see what that one is. That is Oh my goodness. That's a 10 millimeter, and that one is a, so the timber's so dark I can't really see the stamp on it. I think that's an 8 millimeter. Yeah, that's smaller. Because a 10 millimeter is the biggest, so there must be some in between sizes there. But they're beautiful, love them, and I just, there's a US stamped on that one. Okay, I just keep them in this cup, and for me they're just a little decorative thing in my craft room. Maybe I will use them. The reason, yeah, that's the reason I haven't used them. I did try using them, but again, it has a very sharp point here. Maybe that will wear down in time. I noticed the bigger ones are a little bit softer, but the finer ones tended to catch on some of the yarns that I was using. I think that would be quite comfortable too, though, in your hand. So, yeah, maybe I should try them again. I think you just get used to using the same tools, don't you? When you find something that works for you, you use that. And then lastly, I did invest in this beautiful case many years ago too. I think the same time as I got the Clover and More ones. They were not available in Australia at the time, but I had a friend in the US who kindly was able to get them on US Amazon, and she sent them over to me. And this is the Tulip Etimo brand. You can get other tulip hooks here in Australia that I've seen, but not this particular one. It came in this lovely sort of like crocodile skin, snake skin, no, crocodile skin I'd say, looking, I don't think it's actually crocodile skin, but it looks like that sort of pattern. This beautiful pink case, and then there's 10 hooks in there from 2 millimeter up to 6 millimeter, and it came with, you know, scissors and a little needle fob and also a little conversion chart there, which that's interesting. Let me just take that out and show you. That might explain a little bit more about the sizes. I haven't got this out for a while. There we go. There you go, crochet hook comparison chart. Actually, I don't think that came in there. I think I at one time cut this out from somewhere and put it in there so that I'd have it. So you can see in Japan, they use some sort of size 2/0. I'm not sure what that means. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.5, 8, 9, 10, and they convert into the metric system. So a 2 is a 2 millimeter. I'm sure the US has that, but yeah, I don't actually know. That's weird, isn't it? Because that's 2.2 and that's 2.25, and they're both metric. And then the US system is a B is a 2.2 millimeter, a C is a 2.5 millimeter, so B1, C2, D3. So on patterns, US patterns, they will probably tell you use a number 1 hook or a number 3 hook, or a D or a B or C, like either an alphabetical system or a number. And as I said, here in Australia, we use the millimeter system for hooks. So I'm not really sure where I got this from or why it has 2 different sizes, because it's 2.5 and then 2.75. Anyway, let's ignore this for a moment. Let's go with that. Or maybe we should go the other way around. Anyway, you get the idea. So if you are reading a pattern and you see or a ball band, so for example, this one of these little mini ball bands here, let me see if they've got, no, they're not going to be helpful to us, are they? No, they're just like a little novelty thing I picked up from Spotlight years ago, and they don't have a size on them. So let me just turn off and grab a ball that has a ball band on it. Okay, so I've just grabbed a little selection of yarns that I've got here. One from here in Australia. This one, Stylecraft, is from the UK. 4 Seasons, also from Australia. And this one, Schachenmeier Regia, is probably from Germany, I'd say. Does it say where it's from? Germany, yep. My mother brought that back for me to make some socks from Austria a few years back. So different yarns from different countries, and they will say different things on their ball bands. So when you're starting to crochet or knit, that can be a little bit confusing. So it's good to maybe look up some other YouTube tutorials or a little bit of research on what the differences are between plies and and different yarns. Because when we talk about yarn, we're not just talking about wool. We're talking about acrylic, which are man-made, fibres. We're talking about animal fibres, which could be wool, alpaca, rabbit, whatever, camel. I don't know. You can make fibres out of anything. I have actually got some Angora rabbit yarn that I picked up years ago from a lady down in Melbourne. So yeah, it can be made out of different things. And then of course there can be cotton, bamboo. So it's important when you're reading a pattern to find out what yarn it suggests using, because they may say use wool, and then if you use cotton and you might think, oh, that's an 8-ply cotton or an 8-ply wool. They can actually be different, and it can change the look of your work. So yes, always follow a ball band instructions for the best results until you gain a lot more experience, and then you can play around with different fibres and different tensions and so forth. Okay, so we'll start with this one. Made in Australia. Cleckheaton is a very popular brand over here. I picked up this one from Spotlight. It's wool. Okay, so you can see on the ball band here, it's saying DK. So DK is what double knit, and I think one of my other balls actually had double knit written on it. I hear this one. So this one's actually an acrylic. That one's a wool, but it says double knit. So DK, if you see DK written there, that means double knit. But it converts to a 8-ply in the UK, and so Australia we would use the same. We would call that an 8-ply, and that's what they've written on the band there, 8-ply. Plies used to refer, or still refer to, how many plies of strands are wrapped together or spun together. But something can be an 8-ply and not actually be like 8 strands wrapped together. It might be just the thickness of the wool or the yarn. Yeah, but it's that sort of thickness. So if it says on the ball band to use a DK or an 8-ply, then use that. Okay, so, and then it will tell you the size of the needles. A lot of these balls don't have a picture of a crochet hook, but I'm assuming that if it says 4mm needles for knitting, this one does, and a 4mm hook. So it's the same size hook. So then you would choose a hook. That one's a 6mm, but you would choose a hook that is a 4mm to knit or crochet with an 8-ply to get your best results. And then it will give you a little swatch as to how many stitches there should be for a 10 by 10 centimetre swatch. Okay, there's also like washing instructions on there. Yeah, we all know what can happen to wool if we wash it in hot water. It can shrink. That's happened to me in the past. I've crocheted a beautiful big blanket. Took me months to make it, and then I forgot, put it in my washing machine on hot water, came out completely felted, and it became a really nice dog blanket after that. Okay, this one's made at Wangaratta Woolen Mills. Okay, didn't know there was a woolen mills down there. I'll have to Google them, find out if they still, what they make and what they sell. All right, so that's a wool, that's 8-ply. This one, Stylecraft Special DK, I purchased from the UK from Wool Warehouse. Again, on the ball band, it says DK, so that would be an 8-ply here in Australia. 4mm hook. May dry clean, and it's machine washable. It's actually, this acrylic yarn is actually really nice, and you can even cool iron it, which is nice. It's actually really nice and soft. I've liked using this one. I don't know anyone here in Australia that sells it. I'd probably have to do a search, but from Wool Warehouse in the UK, they will ship it over here at a reasonably cheap shipping price if you want to try their yarn. Now, Four Seasons is another brand that is sold in Spotlight. Modavera and Four Seasons seem to be quite popular brand that they sell there. This one is 50% acrylic, 50% wool. I made a beautiful blanket out of this. Actually, I've made, I think, 2 blankets out of this yarn. It's lovely and soft, and it's machine washable. It doesn't say on here, I don't think, what ply it is. It feels a little bit thicker than an 8-ply, so I'm thinking maybe a 10-ply, but it doesn't actually say on there. And it's saying needle size 5mm, so I'm guessing a crochet hook 5mm would be the same. So perhaps it's like a 10-ply. All right, that one. And then this one, 4-ply, is much thinner. In the US, they would call that fingering weight. All right, so if you see a pattern that says fingering weight, they're talking about this little bit of a finer yarn, and it's a variegated one. It's got beautiful patterns on it, so when you knit it up, I love to knit socks, the patterns just are automatically coming through there. And again, it will tell you the size of a hook, 2 to 3 millimeter, size 1 to 3 if you're in the US. Okay, and again, this was from Germany, this one. Yeah, shows you can iron it and machine wash. Beautiful, really, I like this brand of yarn. I haven't seen it here in Australia very much. Or if I have, it's been very expensive, but as I said, my mother brought it back from Austria. Bought me a few balls of this back years ago. Yeah, so I think that's everything about the yarns that I wanted to say. And so then, yes, okay, so if you were going to crochet with it, go by the ball band and what hook size it tells you to use. Where was that? Did I saw it? Did I actually say it? Oh, yes, here it was. So a 2 to 3 millimeter needle if you're going to knit with these. Knit these socks. Crochet, I guess it would be the same. Yeah, anything between a 2 and a 3 millimeter to crochet socks with this. These little balls that I've got here in this little jar are, I think, mainly all cotton, except for that one. I think that looks like a wool or an acrylic, but these other ones are cotton. So, you know, some of these cottons can be 8-ply, but look how thin that is. It's almost like a fingering weight. It's probably very similar. Oh, it's even a little bit thicker than a fingering weight, but it's not as thick as an 8-ply. So yeah, I'd probably pick something that says to use cotton if I was looking for a pattern. Okay, there you go. It's just a little collection thing that I've got there. I haven't seen them in Spotlight for many years, but they were very cute, so I had to buy those. All right, so that's the yarns. They're all my hooks that I've got. Here's another cotton, sorry. This is another cotton. This is an Cascade Ultra Pima, which I've used in the past, and I think that's a mercerized cotton, so it's lovely and shiny, and it crochets up really well. So I was going to show you actually in another next video, I was going to use this as a demonstration one. So stay tuned, that's coming soon. My next video will be crocheting the half double crochet. I think we did the single crochet, didn't we? Half double crochet stitch. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that's explained a little bit about crochet hooks. It can be overwhelming because there's so many different types of hooks, but as I said, when you're starting off, get yourself something like, especially if you're a young person, you're still at school, you know, you've just got your pocket money, get yourself a metal hook, not this thin 3 millimeter, maybe start off with a 4 or 4.5 or a 5 millimeter hook and an 8-ply yarn. I would recommend to start learning. Crocheting with thinner yarns can be a little bit more challenging. When I started to crochet, I was 8. My mother worked in a wool mill down in Victoria, and she would bring us home the cone ends, and they were very fine yarn, I remember. So we had to combine different colours together, and I would crochet blankets and things out of that. But I started off with a 4 millimeter or a 5 millimeter hook, I can't remember now. And it was one of those grey ones that I showed you. And then, yeah, went through to these metal ones later because I was in my teens and I liked all the colours, as we do. So yes, these metal ones are just fine to start off with to crochet. As you progress, if you find it's a hobby that you love and that you're going to be doing a lot of, you might want to invest in some more expensive crochet hooks. Okay, I don't want to say better hooks because these are just as good. It's just what works for your hands. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you enjoyed my video. And if there's anything you'd like to add, or if you want to correct me if I've said something wrong, then I'm open to listening to that as well, because I love to learn and keep learning new things all the time. We never get too old to learn, do we? Okay, thank you. Bye for now.